So this week, I just want to talk about layering and how important that is to both depth and texture and richness in your paintings. So layering will help your paintings become more exciting and more engaging for your viewers. So we tend to think that layering is just something that is going to fix itself. As long as we keep painting, we're going to make layers, right? But the whole thing is that painting, and I'm not just talking about layers now, everything about painting is a balance. So it's the balance between the knowledge and the skills that you have and your intuition and freedom and fearlessness and your courage, right? So it's a kind of balance there. And if you don't apply that to your layering isn't going to work very well. So what I want to show you this week is a great way that you can just practice your layering. And when I say practice, I mean without like creating a full painting or anything. It's just for fun, just to sit down and practice and see what happens when you play around, right? When you fool around with your layers. So I have two colors that I want to work with today. I have a yellowish green and I have this permanent red violet. And these two colors are complementary, so they kind of love each other. So they're really good to use for this example. So I just got off track while commenting, so I just decided that I'd do a voiceover instead. So the reason complementary colors work so well for this example is that they cancel each other out. So when you combine two complementary colors, you are essentially going to make mud. And that is the mistake that most people make when they start painting, right? Especially when they layer, because they start layering wet on wet, and the two colors cancel each other out, making a neutral color, either a gray or a brown. And the whole painting turns into something that doesn't look very good. So what I'm doing now is I'm just using that one color and just making different nuances or values of that color. So just pick a color and put it down on your paper and just have fun with it. Make any kinds of shapes that you prefer and enjoy yourself. So that is most certainly my intention. And that's why I pulled out this palette knife to create some fun marks. You know, practicing is not supposed to be boring. It's supposed to be fun and awaken your curiosity. So don't be afraid of just sitting yourself down to paint something that doesn't necessarily have to become something. As I already mentioned, two complementary colors will cancel each other out and create mud. Now, muddy colors aren't necessarily colors that are ugly or that I don't want to use. It's just that I want to use them in the correct way. So this is why I take the time out to stop and just dry that very first layer. This way, when I put the second color on top of my first layer, I won't create mud. This is exactly what I meant when I was talking about, having a balance in the beginning of the video. So you need to balance your intuition and being in the flow with actually using some of the knowledge that you gain along the way. So if you know that you need to dry your painting so that you don't create mud, you have to stop and do it. Over time, this just becomes a part of how you do things, and it won't even interrupt your flow. You'll just keep going. So for this next layer, I actually just mixed my two colors, and I kind of created a muted yellowish kind of color or beige color, and they work really good together. And now that everything's dry underneath, you don't see that purple mixing in with the color that I just put down. And I just keep going. I love to just experiment and see what happens if I add more of one color or more of the other color. So now I just realized that I put down a green color that was way too light, and you couldn't see the difference between the beige and the green. So I decided to add more green to the color, and making it work a lot better. And this is the kind of discoveries that you make when you're willing to sit yourself down and just explore, instead of always focusing on painting something that is going to turn into some kind of masterpiece or something. So as you keep moving forward with your layers, just
keep adding different colors into the mix. So add some black into your colors, add some more of the red in, and put some of it down and just see how it works with everything else that you have there. Because this is all about balance. It's all about you noticing what you're doing and what you're creating. And then the next time you feel like your layer is done, pull out your heat gun or your hair dryer and give it a nice quick dry. Layers are all about having fun with your art. They're about creating texture, depth, and keeping your viewer interested in looking at your work. So a good thing to do is to practice with different tools as well. And I love me a good silicone brush. And this thin one, I think, is one of the best buys that I've had because the marks that it makes are so much fun to look at. You never know what you're going to get. And especially with this one because it's getting old, and old tools, in my opinion, work a lot better than the new ones. I don't know why, they just do. So, if you at any point of this practice start putting yourself down, try to remind yourself that it is just practice. And remember that over time, even your practice pieces will turn into something that you love every once in a while. So, just be kind to yourself. It's really funny that we kind of put ourselves down when we don't even sit down to practice. Just take me, for example. I'm not a great baker. Every time I try to bake something with yeast, it turns out terrible. But do I tell myself that I'm a failure and I'll never be able to bake? No, I just throw away the failed attempt and I try again. And I think that is because I don't put my emotions into a loaf of bread, right? But when it comes to painting, that's a totally different story. We pour so much of ourselves into our art and our emotions, our ideas and creativity. And when it doesn't work out as we hoped, it kind of reflects on us. It makes us feel like we're a failure. So it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that I'm not good enough or I'll never figure this out. But listen, here's what I've learned. Failure is not your enemy. In fact, failure is essential for learning and it's essential for growing. The more you practice, the more you're going to fail, and the more you fail, the more you're going to learn. Every single mistake that you take, every single mistake that you make teaches you something new about your process, your materials, and your voice as an artist. So the next time things don't work out, remember that you are only practicing and things are going to progress as you go. Just like baking, creating art takes patience, experimentation, and lots of practice. And you're not failing, you're learning. All right, so thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week. Bye.